Now, residents in the City of Canterbury Bankstown in Sydney are criticising their council for proposing female welcome zones for young women in public areas. Daisy, I have a problem with this. It doesn't sit well with me because it means we're almost accepting that in some places women are obviously targets. And do we need to put up signs of this kind?
Well, the short answer should be no, absolutely not. That kind of segregation is medieval. I mean, for goodness sake, in a Western society in 2020, we should not be segregating men and women for any reason other than change rooms or to go to the toilet. Would be my view on that situation. It's interesting. There were residents from the area who were interviewed, some of which thought the whole thing was a good idea, and one of the reasons was given that it feels awkward on the streets in that area, hence a segregated space for women would be a good idea. And there were some Muslim women who were interviewed who supported the policy, and they said they felt better able to integrate if there were spaces for women only. Now, that is a concerning factor. I think that somehow these Muslim women don't feel perhaps confident enough in a mixed environment to fully feel like they're part of society, and I think there's a greater problem there. But this should absolutely not be happening. And
but Daisy, what do we take from the Muslim women who are saying this to you? Are we saying that those Muslim women think that non-Muslim people in the Bankstown area are intimidating them, that they feel scared in these non-select areas? Because if that is the case, I'm sorry, I've been there, I know it, that's not the case.
But I don't think that's the case. I think perhaps in their culture, because, you know, women, they do by choice wear hijabs or the niqab to be modest. They often, you know, stay away from men who are not members of their family. Perhaps it's sort of a customary thing. If they've come from countries that aren't Australia, they feel like they can't quite get used to the very, very gender-integrated culture of Australia. And look, okay, fine, but surely, since this is Australia, this is a Western country, that's not how we do things.
Correct.
Women should be getting used to integrating with the opposite sex.
Yes, Carolyn, I couldn't agree with Daisy more, because at the end of the day, if we accept people as they are, no matter their sex, no matter their religion, you don't have separate areas for separate people.
No, that's right, and we don't do that as a general rule in Australia, like Daisy said, except for bathrooms. There were a couple of comments in that article that talked about a safety issue. Now, if there is a broader safety issue, then that needs to be dealt with by the police,
separately.
And that there is not going to be aided by fencing off the women. Now look, if women feel like they're isolated or they do want to integrate or whatever, I'm sure that there is some avenue for the council to have classes or those sorts of things which will be readily attended by women instead of men. And in that way, I feel more comfortable that women might be more comfortable in that kind of scenario. But I don't see the point in cornering off safe spaces or welcome spaces for women. I mean, that just makes absolutely zero sense.
Exactly. As I say, I go there because I've got family nearby and I used to grow up there. So I do get back to that area, the Bankstown area in Sydney. And I tell you what, I see lots of ethnicities mixing in well. No one's staring anyone down. There's no intimidation. They become locals. And for Muslim women to start getting on television and saying this is the way it's got to go, we want it separate, I just think is so wrong, and we shouldn't introduce it in any local government area, because if one area does it, you're likely to see another area in another state or territory do exactly the same.